We're Hasani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, welcome everyone to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hasani. Good to have each and every one of you here with us. Listen, we appreciate the fact that you tune in from all over the world, no matter what part of the country or the hemisphere you may be in. You're a part of the community, and we want to honor you. This is a place where people hang out to talk about love, life, and relationships. We're going to start something new. We're talking about rebuilding trust after infidelity. This is one of the hot topics that we can't really exhaust enough, because this is where so many people find themselves in a space of, I'm not sure. I don't know how to begin to regain this thing. As we say all the time, a signature statement is that trust is lost in buckets and gained in drops. So how do I begin to regain the drops? What are the steps that we have to go through? How do we make this thing happen? And that's what we're going to talk about today. But listen, guys, before we get started, listen, we have a new series of shows that we've been announcing, and some of them have been coming on. I just want to give you a quick opportunity, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to Couples Academy, to know a full spectrum of what it is that we do. So watch this quick video and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
All right, guys, we're back. You're watching, once again, the Couples Academy Show. We're going to dive right into this conversation because many of the couples that we work with are in the thick of it. They're in this battle to trust. And let me just say, when you watch these videos, right, we're giving you a dose. We're giving you a piece of a pie. And in order for you to get through this process, you need every single piece, every single component, every single step. And so, listen, we do encourage, if you're watching us, to subscribe, because on our channel, on our YouTube channel, we have over 700 videos that can speak to your situation. Now, the challenge is, if you're consuming, it's all great information, but possibly you're taking the appropriate steps in the wrong order. And that's why things aren't working the way you want them to work. And this is why we encourage you to pick up the phone and reach out to us, and let's set up a discovery call and figure out how we can serve you so that we can take your relationship to the next level. So go ahead and do that, couplesacademy.org. We would love to communicate with you and to be a part of your journey. And so the reason why I bring up particular steps that we need to take, and taking them in the appropriate order is simply because of this reality. Forgiveness is the prerequisite to building trust. You cannot trust someone if you haven't forgiven them, because if you're still in aught and unforgiveness, you're holding something against that partner, and it doesn't give you the ability to forgive. And so this is what I'm saying: the right step at the wrong time, the right step in the right order ultimately will not work. And so forgiveness is a huge thing. Some people can freely do it because they grew up in households where that was what we did. And so it's easy to begin to flow in that very process because you have history being able to do that. But if you come from an environment where that was not the case, you didn't see mom apologize to dad or dad say I'm sorry to mom, you have no example and no expression of that. It's a foreign concept. If you're an individual who has held grudges, if you're a person who holds on to things, who does not forget, who has ended relationships every time you've been hurt, then when it's time to show up in this particular way in your marriage, it becomes a very challenging thing to do. And so we can't even talk about trust yet until we really have embraced full forgiveness. Now, I will say this. Forgiveness is more than a decision. It is a posture. It is a disposition. It is an attitude. It is the way that you show up every single day to life. Just as God gives new mercies every single day, is the same posture and disposition that we should have towards our spouse. And so we're not saying put yourself in a position to always have to forgive the same thing again and again and again and again and again. So if a person continues to be unfaithful or continues to betray you, just forgive and move on. That's not what we're saying. But what we're saying is, a spouse may have done something in times past that they don't do anymore. And a year later, a decade later, almost a century later, obviously I'm exaggerating, you still struggle to forgive. And then you wonder why you cannot trust. And so even though this is not about forgiveness, I'm just saying it is a prerequisite for forgiveness. Now, I want to walk you through what this forgiveness process looks like, because I think it's important that we have some foundation. There is a recovery model that is put in place, and we want to take the time to talk about it. So check this out. The recovery model says, to the degree that you can forgive, to that degree, you can start rebuilding respect. To the degree that you can start rebuilding respect, to that degree, you can start rebuilding trust. And to the degree that you can start rebuilding trust, to that degree, you can start rebuilding love. So forgiveness leads to respect. Respect leads to trust. Trust leads to love. You understand? So there is a process, a method, a methodology. I want you to think about a Rubik's Cube. A Rubik's Cube technically has almost an infinite number of combinations and possibilities to get to a place where it's red on one side, green on one side, blue on one side, yellow on one side. It's given to you in all these different colors, and it's just a mess. And that's oftentimes how our lives are once we've experienced infidelity. And so what is the method to take it from the image that we see, almost Rubik's Cubes, to a perfect image? Well, the lowest number of combinations, I believe, are like 26. Like people who have mastered it, I think it's something like they can turn this thing 26 times and it gets exactly where it needs to be. It's perfect. It's a perfect puzzle on all sides. And so likewise, when you're going through the recovery process, oftentimes when you're doing it your own way, you're just watching a book, you're just reading an article, you're just we don't need anybody, we can figure it out on our own. There's like this incalculable number of steps that you take, and they're missteps. And you're learning through trial and error what doesn't work, and you still haven't learned what has worked. And so what I'm trying to tell you is you can't get to genuine love, and you can't truly trust until certain things are in place. And so that is the model, okay? But let's go a little bit deeper, because what we want to talk about are the 4 rules, if you will, the 4 rules of trust building. And I want you to take your pad and pen. I want you to take some notes, because this is important. All right, here we almost there. Something just happened. All right, here we go. 4 rules in rebuilding trust. Number 1, no surprises. Okay, no surprises. I think this is important because this removes what we call hypervigilance. When a person is on edge, when they're anxious, when they're cautious, when they're even paranoid, this is what we call hypervigilance. Like they're always looking for something to happen and something to go wrong. Now, interestingly enough, let's talk about this. One thing we know about babies, when babies are born, when they first come out the womb, they're taking in everything. They're looking around. They're going through what we will call a trust versus mistrust developmental phase. They're looking at their mom. They're looking at their dad. They're looking at this room. They're looking at all these people, the nurses, the practitioners, the doctors. They're taking in all this information and they're processing. Can I trust this? Can I trust her? Can I trust him? Do I feel safe? And so messages are being interpreted and experiences are being had from the time that a child comes out of the womb. And based upon how that child is nourished, how that child is treated, how that child is spoken to, it will then interpret, this is safe. This same trust, mistrust developmental phase happens in the dating relationship. Think about it. When you're first meeting someone, you go through these seasons. The first season is the dating season. And this is the selection process. And you're going on a date or two and you're getting to know someone and you're wondering, can I trust this person with my life? Is this someone that I would consider spending the rest of my life with? Can I make decisions? Can I raise children with? Can we buy a home? Can we live happily ever after? It is a season to determine how much you can trust putting your life in the hands of someone else. Now, once you've transitioned from dating to committed courtship to engagement to marriage, it is an indication that you've made the decision to trust. So now you enter into marriage with certain expectations, right? With certain assumptions. And the last thing that you would think is that your partner would betray your trust. So when a betrayal happens again, all of the trust that you've built up over all of those months or years is gone in an instant, right? Gone in an instant. And so now your journey is to restore it. And if you think it's just you making a declaration and saying, I won't do it again, you can trust me, listen, you are underestimating this entire process. What came natural to you, how you took care of your partner throughout the relationship to build trust, you have to do that and a whole lot more in order to get back to that place. And so there's a process for that, okay? And so going back to these 4 rules of rebuilding trust, when the trust is lost, listen, when you betrayed your spouse, it was a surprise. It was a shock. It was the last thing that they ever thought or anticipated would happen. And so because this surprise rocked their world, they don't like surprises. See, when we first started this work years ago, and we were working with people, we were making some changes, and some of the clients were caught off guard. They were like, whoa, what's happening? Like, we don't like surprise. And you have to learn. And the more you talk and the more you counsel, you begin to understand why. Because a surprise can represent something's about to go down, so they don't like surprises. They like being informed, right? And when you take the time to inform them, it helps them to feel safe. It helps them to feel secure. So the last thing, if you're trying to win your spouse's heart back, don't surprise them. Now, even when the surprise is an awesome surprise, see, some people just don't like them because it's like, you caught me off guard. I needed to be prepared. I had to get my mind right, had to get my hair right, had to get my makeup right. I had to be presentable. I remember one time we were celebrating Danielle's birthday, and I said, let me do something different. Let me surprise her. And we were driving around, and we wound up at a photography place, like a studio. And she was like, what are we going to do? I was like, we're going to do a photo shoot. She was just like, no, we're not. You did not prepare me for this. You did not tell me that you wanted. No, I don't like those type of surprises. I need to get my hair did and my nails did and my toes did and my makeup. Look at me. I'm not a hot mess, but I'm not photo ready. Absolutely not. I was doing something nice that I thought that she would enjoy, but it did not work because that type of thing took notice and preparation. So likewise, whatever it may be, good or bad, whether it's intentional or not, surprises just don't work. And I think it goes to the next point that really partners itself with surprises is this: informing prior to the fact. You keep the spouse informed. You don't wait for your spouse to hear of a last minute change. This, I can't tell you how critically important it is, because in essence, the spouse wants to know, listen, if you're not going to be where you said you were going to be, if you're not going to do what you said you were going to do, if all of a sudden the plan changed, don't come telling me at the last minute. I need to know ahead of time, because now my suspicion, right, my skepticism, my possible paranoia, all of the reasons why I don't trust you because of what has happened in the past will begin to rise to the surface. And all of a sudden now I'm thinking a certain type of way, feeling a certain type of way, and it does not make me feel what? Safe. And at the end of the day, it is hard to trust someone if you don't first feel safe with them. So just as forgiveness is a prerequisite for trust, feeling safe and secure is a prerequisite for trust. And so if you are the offender, the former offender, your job is to figure out how, just like that child coming out of the womb, can I feel safe around these people? Your spouse wants to know, can they feel safe with you? Can they let down their guard? Do they feel like they have to protect themselves from you because you won't do that? So it's more than just, believe me, I said I wasn't going to do it. I've changed. I'm different now. Trust me. It's more than that. It's what you demonstrate. It's how you show up. It's the safeguards that you put in place. It's the covering and the protection that you give your spouse. Doing those things consistently enough will begin to rebuild their trust and turn things around. And I'm telling you folks, this works. And this is why we say trust is lost in buckets and gained in drops, because it takes time. Because doing the right thing one time is not enough. So you did the right thing and now you want a trophy? You want a cookie? You want a plaque? You want to be celebrated for doing what you were supposed to do? But then you did it once, but you haven't done it again. Where you been at? It's been a long time. Where is the consistency? Don't come to me, right, with your chest all puffed out because you did something good one time. Even the Bible says, don't be weary in well-doing, for in due season you shall reap if you faint not. Meaning, don't get tired of doing the right thing. Doing the right thing once is not the principle. It's doing the right thing again and again and again and again and again. And you're doing it long enough and not getting tired, not getting frustrated, not saying, how long am I going to have to do this? When is all this whole thing going to turn around? I can't do this no more. No, it's the new norm for you. You're doing it again and again and again and again and again, and not getting weary in doing the right thing, because in due season. And when you're sowing seeds into the ground, you can't sow a seed into the ground and then expect to harvest the next day. You sow a seed into the ground. There's a germination process. There's the law of growth. You don't know what's happening underneath the ground, but something's happening underneath the ground. The only thing you need to focus on is nurturing the soil, letting the water hit it, letting the sunlight hit it, planting those seeds, because in due season, and you're not always going to know when due season is. Due season is not on your clock. Due season is not on your calendar. Due season is not when you feel it should happen. See, and this is the challenge. Oftentimes, the person who is the offender wants to control the pace or the rate at which their spouse goes. Listen, it's been too long. Like, how long are we going to deal with this? You need to catch on up, because listen, we got places to go and things to do, and I need you right. You cannot control the pace of your spouse's recovery. All you can do is keep sowing, keep planting, keep showing up, being consistent, doing the right thing, because I don't know when, but in due season, you will reap a harvest If you faint not, if you don't quit, if you don't stop, what's the harvest that you reap from sowing seeds of trust? They trust you. So I'm going to demonstrate my ability to show up the right way to restore trust. And as a consequence, right, I'm going to gain your heart. I'm going to win your heart back. You're going to begin to trust me again because of my consistency. And when that is done, I'm going to tell you something, folks, everything begins to change. Listen, you're watching the Couples Academy show. Hope you're enjoying what you're hearing. We're going to go to a quick break. Listen, Last Chance Weekend is coming up, second weekend of July. Ignore the date that you're about to see. We do it the second weekend of every month. Check this out. Be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to the Couples Academy show. We're talking about rebuilding trust after infidelity. I want to go over here to Jay. Jay says, going through this right now, and I don't know how to trust her and move on from the affair. Now, I want to speak to this. I want to speak to you, Jay, because Jay, you represent an incalculable number of individuals who are in the same space. And be honest with you. I'm going to say this out of love. I'm telling you how to do it. See, the challenge is, yeah, I read the books, I watched the videos, I went to the sermon, I went to the seminar, I went to the this and that, but how do you do it? I'm telling you how to do it. Walk through these steps. You know, in our Moving Forward program last night, one of our practitioners was talking to the couples, and he said something powerful. He said, you know what, when we were going through this process, we had the tools, but I wanted to do my own thing. And I wanted to do things my own way. I discarded the tools and all the information and all the guidance that I had been given. And I decided that, I don't want to do that. I want to do it my own way. But he did not know what the way was. And so everything he attempted to do didn't work. And so what happens is oftentimes when we're hearing the very steps that we need to take, what happens? We throw it out. We justify why that may be good for other people, but not for us. My situation's different. Nobody understands what I'm going through. If they only knew how bad. And so here's the challenge. It's a head game. You know, as they say, your greatest enemy is in me. There's a battle going on. There's these voices that are speaking to you, and you're vacillating back and forth as to what you should do. And so how do you forgive? How can you move on? How could you trust? By just doing. Sometimes you got to get out of your head, right? And just do. The how is insignificant. Just do. So if the instructions are forgive. Okay, but it's not that easy. Nothing is easy. Nothing is easy. But see, listen, and the other thing is we feel like we're not ready to do certain things because our spouse isn't showing up a particular way. And so now it's like almost like, well, I'll do when you do. And I'm not going to do until you do. And the reality is that is a recipe for failure. It does not work like that. All you can do is focus on what you can do in your journey, in your process. So while it is something that both of you are going through together, there's an individual process. Because if you're doing what you need to do and you become your best self, it helps to situate you in such a place where you can receive things you couldn't receive before. You can do things that you couldn't do before. You're thinking and feeling on a different frequency that draws other things back into your life, that reinforces the frequency that you're operating on. There's a lot to this thing. There's a lot to it. So I understand if your world has been shattered because of what has happened, and it is very difficult to trust. In fact, there are certain personalities that really struggle to trust. I mean, it's just wired into how they live their lives because of messages that they've received from their childhood that have shaped them. And so they look through the lens of skepticism, through doubt, through fear possibly. They struggle with certain things. Like there's two different philosophies here, folks. You have one philosophy that says, listen, until you do something wrong, I trust you. Hey, listen, you got a scorecard. You start out with an A. All right. Now you can keep that A, just keep doing the right thing. And some people say, you got to earn this trust. I don't know you. I'm not just going to trust you. No, you got to prove yourself to me. You have to earn this up in here. Now, is either one right or wrong? They're just different. And based upon understanding who you are and who your spouse is, really gives you insight into the process or methodology that is going to take you to get to the other side. What's on the other side? Genuine trust. Genuine trust. All right. So these are the steps that you need to take. Let's go a little bit further. We were talking about these rules to restore trust. Let's go to the next one. Keeping your word. You are where you say you will be, doing what you say you will do, and keeping deadlines no matter how simple. Now, this is a huge thing because I think a lot of people just say stuff, not even with the bad intentions. We make commitments. We say we're going to do things. We agree to this. We agree to that. And we're so loose with our words. And it's not like I'm lying, like I'm saying something that I know that I'm not going to do. I'm just lying to you. But oftentimes, because we don't honor what we say, it is certainly interpreted as you are lying. You're not consistent. You have no integrity. I can't trust you. And so that's why you have to really be careful with the words that you speak. And your word has to be bond. Real talk. If you say it, do it. There can be no separation between what you say and what you do, particularly with someone who has lost all trust for you. And so oftentimes they say your words don't mean nothing. They don't mean a darn thing. And so they can't trust your words. And so in the trust building process, we often say, listen, trust what they do. What do they do? Because what they do will give you an indication of whether you trust that they'll continue to do the same thing, which is, listen, I trust based upon your actions that you'll continue to do the wrong thing because your actions show me. Or I trust based upon your actions that you're going to continue to do the right thing. Why? based upon your actions, and your actions often are an extension of what you say. So make sure that you're really taking the time to process this and show up the right way, because you don't want to give your spouse more reason, more justification, more rationalizations as to why they should bounce or never be able to trust you as long as they remain in that relationship. Because how torturous is that on everybody? Not just you who's not trusted, but the person who does not feel safe and cannot trust. So these are the steps that you need to take. And let's go to the fourth one: not keeping secrets. Come on now. In tone and content, there is no guardedness, no hiding. And this is where we get into trouble. A text came through. You know what? Let me delete this because, if she finds out or if he finds out, it's going to be a situation. So let me delete it. Ain't nothing happening. But I just, I don't think it's necessary to bring it up. Or something's about to hit the fan and you figure out a way to dispose it, to get rid of it, to fix it before it comes out, right? Or there's some secret or some information and you're holding on to it for dear life, trying to hold on to it as long as you can before it comes out. And you're not living a transparent life. You are still clandestine. You are still secretive. You are ultra private. You compartmentalize aspects of your life. You are shutting the door in your spouse's face, and they're knocking, trying to get in, and you won't let them in. They're calling and that phone is ringing, but you won't pick up. You have shut down, built up walls around your life, not letting them in. And then you want them to trust you. They cannot trust you. You have to take the disposition of something completely different. You have to take on the mentality that, babe, I'm an open book. Whatever you want to know, boom. I'm an open book. Ask your questions. I'm going to give you answers. Listen, you want my phone? Go through it. Have fun. Hey, you want to look through my drawer? Do your thing. Because you're not going to find nothing. Why? Because people who have nothing to hide nothing. And in my process to restore trust with you, there's nothing that I'm keeping from you. I'm going to live a complete open life to you. There's no secrets. There's none of that going on. I'm going to share with you every aspect of my life. And I'm going to share things that, I'm going to overshare until you tell me not to share. Because what I need to do, I realize there's such a deficit here. I have to overcompensate for that deficit by showing up the right way. And that's what I'm going to do. And these are the things that we must begin to do to rebuild trust. Now, we're just getting started, folks. We're just getting started. Hopefully you got something out of today's session that will take you on a journey of transformation within your relationship. And we're going to come back tomorrow and dive a little bit deeper into this topic. But until then, listen, reach out to us. Go to couplesacademy.org. Set up a discovery call. Let's see how we can serve you. Love you guys. See you in the AM.